Good evening and welcome. Straight into our headline story. Georgia tonight, NATO out. Pax Armada in.
Is the NATO alliance shifting to a new position?
Or is NATO collapsing?
Pax Armada's peaceful expansion ends.
What comes next? It's not diplomacy.
Battlefield 6 had an incredibly successful beta test, making waves for the FPS scene, being picked up by 500,000 users on Steam, and now the full release is out, that number is growing. It's been a respectable 4 years since our last Battlefield outing. Let's see how Battlefield 6 stacks up. Gameplay across both the campaign and multiplayer is intuitive and rewarding. Battlefield has always given us that space in between a hero-style shooter with rock-paper-scissors style countering with its unique classes of assault, engineer, support and recon, and the typical standard military shooter. Through the campaign, you'll play as each of your members of your squad across different missions, and during multiplayer, expect to be in the squads of 4 in a wider team in the traditional Battlefield setup. The gunplay is satisfying, be it face to face with your enemy or over vast distances. Each weapon feels right for the task it's set. The 2 more unique features of the Battlefield franchise have made it into Battlefield 6. Destruction is a huge part of gameplay, allowing teams to shape the map over the course of the rounds, making offense feel more flexible and defense requiring a lot more thinking than just holding angles. The other feature is projectile shooting. Almost all guns fire projectiles and not the typical hit scan seen across competitors such as Call of Duty. This tends to be a point of contention between those coming from other games. Running and gunning playstyles feel more challenging, with recoil not being the only aspect of the shooting you need to control. Those of you that spend time with the recon class will likely notice this more. Sniping long distances can be tough, especially in moving targets. However, the game does give you the tools to make this easier with range finding and scope zeroing capabilities. Over my time playing multiplayer, I have found the most satisfying way to play is to really lean into the class you pick. If you pick Assault, get yourself into the fight quickly, be the first through the door, and get to the point. Engineers, drive and repair your vehicles or clear enemy ones out. Support, throw your ammo packs, defib your team and lay down that covering fire. Recon, cover your squad, paint targets and feed intel into your team. Battlefield 6 is set in 2027, the European Union is collapsing, NATO is weakened, old historical rivalries are rekindling, and a powerful private military company is using the unfolding chaos to gain power. Pax Armada. The opening mission sets a strong opening platform to launch the story. You meet Pax during a withdrawal of NATO troops from their base in Georgia. Pax has ambushed the site and our squad, Dagger 1-3, is tasked to destroy NATO servers on site that have immense cyber warfare capabilities and must not fall into the hands of Pax. The remaining campaign sees the team chasing and destroying targets around Europe and the USA. Even though the campaign is only roughly 6 hours long, the story that DICE have chosen to tell is mostly a complete one, with the ending seemingly setting up for a direct sequel. Although it fits into the wider Battlefield universe, it may not receive one and could just stand as a snapshot in time. Although the story for Battlefield 6 is an isolated experience, there are threads through the game that link it to the wider Battlefield universe, with references to characters from older games, as well as being written as a prequel to the events of 2042. My only concern for the campaign is that the story isn't particularly memorable. It offers the generic twists and turns you expect from an FPS, and it could quite easily be written for any franchise such as Call of Duty or Medal of Honor, and you wouldn't even think twice. One of the first things you will notice is how well a lot of the in-game is designed. Buildings, valleys and mountains feel realistic and natural. Nothing feels particularly out of place. Throughout the campaign, you will be treated to a large amount of scripted moments such as chases, sniping setups and defending your position. A lot of these moments, although not unique, give you elaborate visuals and draw you into the events of the story. Multiplayer does not fall short of this either. 64 players in a lobby with all sorts of equipment and vehicles ranging from quad bikes to tanks to helicopters and jets can give you wild, almost cinematic moments. I've witnessed a teammate shoot down a jet, and when that jet crashed, it took down half a building with another friendly squad inside. You don't have to wait long for events like this to happen. Chaos is what Battlefield is built on, and chaos is what you will see. The user interface is slick and clean, something you would expect from a developer of this stature. With standard loadouts you will learn pretty fast, however on the occasions you manage to get into vehicles you don't usually drive, The UI does a good job of making it clear what your buttons are and what they do. The game's menu is pretty standard and what you would expect. The game does have a need to verify the shaders every time you boot up, even though in the launch sequence checks for updates anyway. It's not a massive annoyance with a fast PC and good connection. You can get into the menu without it finishing it. By far, the most annoying menu feature is that if you want to play the campaign, you first boot the game. Seemingly, this is only the multiplayer game. You select campaign, and it closes the multiplayer game, and boots the campaign mode separately. This is annoying in its own right. However, if you want to change the campaign mission, Battlefield has the audacity to close the campaign altogether, to reboot the multiplayer game for you to only switch campaign missions, and it to start the loop over again. The music is nothing to write home about. Sitting here writing this review, not a single moment stands out in the campaign. I can't recall any of it. Where DICE does do a good job is the audio. Every weapon, piece of equipment, vehicle, destruction and callouts sound satisfying to hear. When a gun is fired, you get an understanding of how close or far away it is. If you're hiding and sniping, you are very conscious of how loud your gun can be and how easily it can give away your location. Even in busy environments, certain noises stand out as you would expect. You could be in a firefight with your squad in the building, and suddenly the unmistakable sound of a tank rolling up cuts through. Even on the smaller maps, where 64-player chaos is a possibility, the audio still shines. The protagonists of Battlefield 6 are an elite US Marine squad, Dagger 1-3. Carter is your assault and team leader, Lopez your support, Murphy your engineer, and Gecko your recon specialist. Throughout the campaign, you'll play as each of your squad across different missions depending on the task at hand. Although we don't find out a lot about your squad over the course of the game, Carter's backstory is relevant to the plot. As the game goes on, you start to get a good understanding of each of their personalities as well as some of their mental struggles. A 6-hour campaign is hard to flesh out with details. I'd argue the writers did a good job given the parameters, especially in an FPS. They're not going to be etched in memory forever, but credit where credit is due. The antagonist for Battlefield 6 is Pax Amata and its leader Kincaid. Both Pax and Kincaid are your typical run-of-the-mill, evil private military company and your generic insert bad guy here. Both your squad and Kincaid don't get a great deal of depth. Unfortunately for Kincaid, you don't get to experience his presence very often, his interactions fall mostly flat and sometimes I completely forgot who he was. With any game with good multiplayer, the replay value is pretty high. Leveling up through multiplayer unlocks different weapons, gear and attachments, giving you the chance to try new tactics and approach to your classes and gameplay. Even in the campaign, if you're looking to 100% your game, there are different collectibles to find on each mission, encourage you to run back through it if you miss any of these in your first playthrough. The longevity of a game truly relies on the support that it receives from the developers. As a live service game, you get what you would expect, which includes seasonal gameplay, new game modes and updates. With Season 1 just starting, this includes the introduction of the game's Battle Royale mode, RedSec. Although introducing new game modes and updates is important for the longevity of a live service game, introducing a huge game mode such as Battle Royale less than 3 weeks after the initial launch of the game gave it an anti-consumer message. Everyone knew this was coming and should have been included from release. Live service shouldn't be an excuse to give us unfinished games. Putting all the pieces together, Battlefield 6 really is a game worth picking up. It has one of the most unique multiplayer styles out there, with the individual squads over huge teams, and you truly are sucked into the cinema of it all. Parts of my review may be on the lower end, but nothing sets the tone of the game more than how good the gameplay is. For an FPS, the gameplay is exactly what you would want. No notes. The biggest part of the game that lets it down really is the campaign. An argument could be made for the game that it's not a competitive shooter, and people don't like that. I think that this could work in DICE's favour. Not every game needs to be hyper-competitive. Sometimes you just want to have fun. Thanks for watching this episode of Last Review. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification button.